How can you build your business through acquisition? In this video, we're going to go through 5 simple steps that you can follow to scale your business much faster and often with a lot less risk too. If you haven't met before, my name is Thomas Cornwall. I run Open Equity. We're a private investment firm where we build, scale and exit companies successfully. If you're interested in working with us to put together a plan to scale your business through acquisition, head below. You can jump on a call with my team. In this video, then we're going to go over 5 simple steps. Step 1 is strategy, getting a clear strategy to go and do M&A. So many people I meet would love to build through acquisition, think about doing acquisitions, but don't have a clear strategy. What is a good strategy? How can you do it? We'll go through that. Second thing then is funding. This is something that is often overlooked. How are you going to fund these acquisitions? Because it means that you can actually go through the door credibly and you know that you have the funding in place to move super fast. Third thing then, sourcing. Who are the companies that you're going to buy? What are their contact details? How are you going to get in touch with them? These are all important things, and you may be surprised that actually be way easier than your sales and marketing outbound efforts. 4, deal structuring. This is a really important point. If you can structure deals in great creative ways, you don't need loads of capital, and you can do it in such a way that everybody is left better off. How do you do it? We're going to go through that. And the 5th thing then is post-deal, because ultimately this is the name of the game. How do you improve the value of the company? How do you make it improve the value of your company? So to start with strategy, like I say, ultimately you can build a company in 2 ways. You can build it organically or you can build it through acquisition. That's the critical thing that you've got to have in your mind. If you've got a great business and you've got it to scale, you can now think a bit more strategically about what you're going to buy and what you're going to build. So you're going to build, and I'm going to assume we're going to park that to one side. You've got the marketing and sales in-house stuff that you've got. But when we're looking now to buy, the question really is, when you're putting together an M&A strategy, what kind of companies would you want to buy and why? And I often find people go out, they don't really have a clear strategy, and as a result, everything else fails. So what I want you to do is to take a step out of your business and to look at your overall market that you operate in, because you'll probably find the very large companies, who are the biggest companies in your space, they will have loads of service lines or loads of product lines, and they'll also be operating in lots of geographies. And you'll probably find the way in which they did that is they probably started in one geography and they focused on one specific thing. And then once they got to a certain scale, they would have bought companies, or they would have bought companies that have great products or great services or great teams or great IP or into new geographies. And that's what I'm going to invite you to do. So first of all, get out a piece of paper and step out, look at your market and look at the big companies. And then you can look at what are the products and services that you might want to put into your company. So assume that you're in one geography. You may think, I'm now going to expand to the US, or I'm now going to expand to Europe, or I'm now going to expand to Asia. There will be loads of companies in your space that offer products and services that you might look to acquire. So if you can determine what it is that you ultimately want at the end of the day, which I'd assume is to build a really valuable company and do it in a relatively simple way, well, my strategy in terms of buying companies is to buy companies that are a little bit smaller, that have complementary products and services that I can bring in, can help me expand to new geographies. And then that brings us on to the second thing, because typically once you've done that, you'll have had a big list of products and services or geographies that you might look to expand into. And then you'll be thinking, well, how on earth am I going to fund this? You can fund it in a few ways. You can fund it through the free cash flow in your business. You can also go out to an investment firm like ours at Open Equity, and you'd be surprised. Lots of firms, that is literally their job. That is literally our job to do that. Investment banks can help you and beyond. So first thing, look at what do you have in-house. Second thing, then you can go to investors, and there are different tiers, whether it's an investment firm, whether it's a single high net worth individual or family office, or whether it's through to an investment bank. Lots of people will help you secure the capital. That then brings us on to really important topic though of sourcing and deal structuring, kind of interrelate with the funding piece. The first thing is on sourcing. So let's go back to step 1. Step 1, we looked at our overall market, we looked at the products and services, and we looked at the geographies in which companies operate. And then what we're going to do is start sourcing companies. Now, it's exactly the same process as you would do to do a marketing strategy, because ultimately at the end of the day, it's probably much easier, because you may find it really difficult to work out where your customers are. And in my experience, when I sit down with owners, with founders, they think of M&A as this really intimidating thing. But then when I ask them, do you know 5 companies in your space that you think do good work that you could acquire or work with and so on? They'll typically say, yes, I know all of them. We go to all the same conferences, we meet each other and all of those things. So sourcing, I would always start with, who do you know who runs a company that you may be interested wanted to invest in or to acquire. And I'm sure you wouldn't struggle. Probably you've thought, well, I can't do that because I don't have the funding. The next thing I'd do is then put out a broader list. So you might then look in your in-country, what are companies that offer similar products and services or do something better that you might then look to approach. And as I say, it's way easier than most marketing or sales efforts, because if you got in touch with someone and said, look, I run this business, we're looking to build through acquisition, be interested to have a simple conversation with you, 99% of people will say, sounds good, let's have a chat. In a way that if you approached them and said, I want to sell you some services, do you want to give me money? Most people say no. It's a much easier approach than once you've got a clear strategy and once you're credible about actually going about doing this, because you can jump on a call and you can start to get into the next point, which is deal structuring. People don't do M&A because they think that they need to have millions or billions in the bank in order to get going. The truth is, when we do large acquisitions, every single time, I can't think of one time when it's done, but it does happen, we haven't paid all cash up front. That very, very rarely happens in situations where someone like Microsoft or Google or whoever is desperate to acquire someone and they're then willing to do it to get it done. In most cases, in fact 99.999% recurring of cases, most deals are done with some money up front, so some cash on close, but then deferred payments or earn-out payments. And what I mean by that is that you might agree an overall deal for the value of a company. So you might say, well, actually, I think your business is worth X, so I don't know, 10 million for the sake of argument. I'm going to pay you this on close, and then I'm going to pay the rest out from future profits. And you may also say to the owners, I will do a deal on the valuation that you think makes sense, but you're going to have to deliver for the next 3 years in earnout by meeting certain targets. So you can say overall it might be 10 million, and I'll give you one down, and I'll give you the rest over 3 years, conditional on you growing the business by 10% or 20% or whatever the KPI is over that time frame. And that then means that you can start thinking about creative ways to put together deals, because you don't have to have all of the capital up front. You can just say, I'll put some down and some deferred over time. And that's a very common way to do things. And that kind of then brings us on to the fifth point, which is really about post-deal. What I find really valuable to do in those conversations in 3 and 4 is not to just say, I'd like to buy your company and I'm then going to wreck it and fire your staff and get rid of everybody, which is obviously an exaggeration, but I think that's the thing that's going through most owners' minds is, are you going to take care of my customers? Are you going to take care of my team? Are you going to protect my legacy and everything that I've built? Instead, you can build a vision for what that business is going to look like beyond. And beyond the vision, you can then break it down into ways in which you can add value in the business. And typically what we do is we'll start with a 100-day plan, and then we'll think about maybe a 3 to 5 year plan to grow it. So in that 100-day plan, we would identify all of the things, all of the opportunities in the business to improve it. There might be ways that we could improve the revenue. There might be ways that we could cross-sell different things. There might be ways that we could take some cost out of the business by changing to new suppliers. We might be able to improve the cash conversion cycle, so there's money goes out later, money comes in sooner. We might be able to bring the teams together. We may be able to then roll out a new marketing campaign because we have a great marketing capability in-house. We may be able to do all of these different things that ultimately is going to improve the business. And then we can kind of go on our way where we've gone to that next stage where then we work through a 100-day plan, we've improved the business, and then we can go beyond. So at the end of the day, that's really what building through acquisition is about, is rather than spending the time and investing the time, or it's kind of complementary to doing normal marketing and sales efforts. And you can buy a company that may have been around for 20, 30 years, and you can buy all of that goodwill, all of those customers, all of those great teams. And you can then, if you do it, structure deals in creative ways that don't require lots of risk and lots of capital up front, you can do it in a much, much faster time. So ultimately, that's how to build through acquisition. There's 5 steps. The first step is getting a clear strategy. So working out what you're going to continue to build versus what you're going to buy. The second thing then is thinking about funding. So working out whether you're going to fund these deals yourself from free cash flow. And like we talked about in the deal structuring piece, if you're actually going to not put loads of capital in up front, then you don't need as much capital as you may mean. Or if you are doing large acquisitions or a big market consolidation, you can go to an investment firm like ours. You can also go to an investment bank, and there's plenty of capital around if you've got a good strategy. Then you get into sourcing. So people know, but also then broader lists in your industry of companies that you could buy that have products and services you like, or in geographies you want to expand into. Put together deals where you put some money down, some deferred, and work out what that deal structure ultimately looks like. And then building a good 100-day plan to improve the business and how you can get to the point where ultimately that group is worth way more and done in a much faster way than if you've done it yourself. Hope you found that useful. As I say, you can head below if you're looking to build through acquisition, you want to chat to our team, and I will see you next time.